residents, welcome everybody. I would like to call the meeting to order, and I welcome all of you tonight for the City Council meeting, which will conduct the business of the city. I want to remind everyone that for the city's rules of decorum, all speakers, members of the audience, and council members are to conduct themselves with decorum and not to engage in conduct that interrupts the orderly conduct of the meeting. Tonight we're very pleased to once again have one of our proud veterans, Jeff Sanchez, Army Master Sergeant, conduct the Pledge of Allegiance for us tonight. Master Sergeant, could you please, and welcome Commander Ramirez also. From the Verne Brothers, 151.
On your feet, all those veterans, prior military, you will salute, and first responders. All civilians, put your hand over your heart. Chin hook. Present home. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, both born and preborn.
Take a seat.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you
very much.
sir.
Thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you. Mr. City Manager, can you please conduct the roll call?
Thank you, Councilmember Castro-Diaz.
Here.
Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Lau.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Froggy.
Here.
Mayor Heffer.
Here. Tonight we have two presentations. The first will be a presentation of a proclamation declaring the month of March as Women's History Month. Second will be an update on the Gold Line. For the Women's History Month proclamation, I'd like to call up all the women present to join me as I read the proclamation to recognize the incredible role women have played, continue to play, and will forever play in our nation. So come on up, all of you.
I actually want special
This is awesome.
No, it's okay. There's too many of them. It's okay. It's okay.
Come on. Come on. That means everyone.
You know how these days Hold on, two more coming.
Absolutely. Is it too far to walk? It's actually an honor to be here and also in such presence of such amazing women, so thank you all very much. Proclamation, whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways. And whereas through leadership, innovation, ingenuity, generations of American women have made significant contributions in science, medicine, technology, business, politics, entrepreneurship, and arts and culture. And whereas American women have been instrumental storytellers in word and print of the nation's heritage as pioneering journalists, authors, teachers, scholars, and performers. And whereas American women, past lessons, recent achievements, and future dreams help inspire all of us to find our way today. And whereas American women and girls continue to carry forward the mission of pursuing justice, opportunity, equality for all. Now be it proclaimed by the City of Laverne that the month of March 2023 be recognized as Women's History Month. And we encourage this observance to all citizens so that they may celebrate our diverse heritage and culture, recognizing the incredible role women have played in our nation and the promising future women of all backgrounds will bring to our world. Dated this 6th day of March 2023. Congratulations. It's picture time.
Oh, picture.
Come on.
Council.
Here. Come on, let's rotate. Come on. Scooch, don't be shy, come on. Can you see him? You got it? Got it? Thank you, everybody. Thank you all. Thank you, everybody, very much. We're going back to work. I'd like to recognize Donna Redmond, previous council member, and also Mr. Muir Davis, previous council members. Thank you guys for serving. Bye. And now our presentation is Lisa Levy-Bush. I'd like to introduce Lisa. I've known Lisa for some time on the Gold Line, and also she's just been instrumental with Hubby Balin, the CEO of the Gold Line now, I don't know what it is now, L Line, whatever they're going to call it. She's a Chief Communications and Strategic Development Officer for the Metro Gold Line Road Extension Construction Authority. As your mayor, I serve as a representative on the Construction Authority Board of Directors and looking forward to the finalization of this tremendous project for the San Gabriel Valley. Lisa, thank you for coming and helping us keep us informed of what's going on in our city. Thank you. Good evening.
Bring that down a little bit. Okay. Well, good evening, and it's always nice to be here in the city of Laverne. And it's exciting to give you an update on what's going on and what we've done so far on the project and where we're going. So I'll try to keep it quick since you have quite a few people here that want to speak. But go ahead and start for me, please. So we're building the Foothill Gold Line. It's an extension of what's currently called the L Line. It's all going to change, so please don't get too stuck on letters or colors because they're all going to change on you by the time the train reaches Laverne. But it is a part of the growing network of rail lines that are being built throughout LA County, as you can see here. And the circle just shows you the construction authority, and I'll talk about it in a second, that I work for as a single-purpose agency. We're a state agency, and we're only responsible for doing this one line, planning and building this one line. So we're building light rail. It's different. All of us out here are used to the Metrolink trains up there on the top right. Those are diesel-powered trains. We're building light rail, which are electric-powered trains. They come every every 8 minutes during peak periods, every about 15 minutes during off-peak periods, and you can use them about 20 to 22 hours every day. So it's a very different system than what we're used to out here with the Metrolink. It's to get people to do everything you normally do. Go have dinner, go see friends. It's there all the time. Next. As I said, the construction authority that I work for is it's a single-purpose agency that was put in place back in the 1990s to plan, design, and build this one line in the Metro system. And if you go to the next slide, we work very closely with all of our cities. This is our current board of directors. You'll recognize that guy in the bow tie on the right up there. He is our newest member of the board and has been on our Joint Powers Authority board for quite a few years before now. So, but the members on the top of the line there are people that are the voting members on our board, and below are the non-voting members, and they represent cities throughout our corridor. And we have a very close working relationship with LA Metro. Again, we are separate from them, but we have to build it per their specifications. And so we work very closely with them. We consider them a partner, as we do all of our cities. And Metrolink, or SCRA is their legal name, is also a partner on this project. And we're building it in segments, so I hope, can I ask everybody in here, how many people have been on the Gold Line at some point? Great, thank you. Well, we built it in 3 segments, really, because it's a very expensive thing to build. So it's about a $4 billion public investment that's been made in the county along this one line. We built Los Angeles Union Station to Pasadena, that opened in 2003. And then we started planning the next 24 miles of the system from Pasadena out to Montclair. When Measure R passed, we were able to fund Pasadena to Azusa, and that opened in 2015, or finished it in 2015. And then we broke ground on the last segment, we thought, from Glendora to Montclair in December of 2017. And unfortunately, when we got the bids, we found out we didn't have enough money to build it all the way to Montclair, so we are building it in 2 phases. So on the Glendora to Montclair phase, as you can see here, we are now building between where the line ends today in Azusa out to Pomona. It's 4 stations, it's a little over 9 miles. It is completely shared with the BNSF Railway. There was a freight line right in the middle of our shared corridor, and I'll talk about how we are doing we had to move them out of our way. And then the last 2 stations between Pomona and Montclair, which include the Claremont and Montclair stations, that's the portion that's currently unfunded, and we're working on that, and I'll talk a little bit about that at the end. Next slide. So we're building it, the Glendora to Pomona segment we're using contracts. We have already completed 2 of them, one in 2018 and one in 2019. In 2019, we hired Kiewit Parsons. I'm sure you guys have seen their trucks all out and about, the Kiewit yellow trucks. They are our design builder, and we hired them back in 2019. They started major construction in 2020, and they are on schedule and on budget to complete the project in early January of 2025, so less than 2 years from now. This is the scope of their work. I've talked mostly about it. The only things, in addition to talk about it, we have 21 places where the train will pass at street level. It's called an at-grade crossing. You have quite a few of those in Laverne, and I'll talk about those. There are 19 bridges on the project that have to be built or renovated, and the rest we talked about 4 stations and with parking and all of that. So, go ahead. This is good news. So we're now a couple years into construction. We're already 100% finished with the freight track relocation. The bridge work is now 100% complete, and the grade crossings, which are really the most impactful activities on the project, are now 96% complete. Someone asked me earlier about Gary Avenue. That is the last crossing along our project that is under construction right now. It will be finished on March 17th and reopened, so I know we're all looking forward to that. I am as well. So 96% complete on the grade crossings. Next slide, please. So our teams are really focused now on the light rail system. Over almost 2/3 of the track is now installed. The power system, which are the overhead power lines and everything else that goes along with that, stuff underground as well as overground, is about 42% complete, and our 4 new stations are already over a quarter complete at 29% complete. And overall, we have just reached 64% complete on the entire construction of the project, so it's going really, really well. So regarding Laverne, the most important city, of course, so this is where the station is going to be over at E Street. You can see the gold platform there. The blue area is the parking for the station, and it's about a 300 car parking lot, surface lot. It will have amenities for people to be able to walk. You'll be able to walk from White as well as from E as well as from the parking. You'll be able to park your bike safely. There will be shuttle drop-off areas as well, so you'll be able to get to the station in any way that you need to. This is just an artist rendering of what it's going to look like. And speaking of the artist, Blue McWright was hired. She was selected by the city back in, I think it was between 2005 or 2007, sometime like that. She was selected by a city coordinated group. And her theme of her artwork is going to be sculptures that relate to the citrus fields and the ladders that were used to pick citrus, as well as water. The squiggly lines are the sign for water. And then they're going to be in the shape of an arrow for Arrow Highway and the importance of that highway. And they'll be pointing at downtown Laverne, the University of Laverne, and the Fairlights. It'll be very cool. And these are the colors that were selected by that group, as well as the font for the platform. Say Laverne. So quickly on the update on the project itself in Laverne. As I said, Gary Avenue, it's not Laverne, but we all use it. It's under construction now. It will be, I've been told just this afternoon, we are on schedule to reopen it on Friday, March 17th. So that will be the last of the 21 at-grade crossings that have had to go under major long-term closures. Every street that you see listed below in Laverne has gone through, as you probably have experienced, a long-term closure. They will still need to be completed. You know that the gates aren't in there yet, all the signage isn't in there yet. There's a lot that still needs to be done, but we do not expect to need to do any long-term closures. So if you go to the next slide, the next click, we just want to thank everybody for your patience as we've done this. This is the tough part of the project. Next slide. So just to look at where we are with the station, you can see it on the left there. That's the platform as it's being built now. Laverne was one of the first stations that actually has the track built out on both sides mostly, and now they're starting to put in the overhead catenary poles. That's what is being shown there in that image. And then on the right, to the east and to the south of the platform is where the parking is going to be, and Arrow Highway is right there. You can see it along there on the right-hand side. So we've purchased all the property for the parking, and it's being used right now as a laydown area. The dirt that's been on there for quite a while, that's actually going to be finished as of this week. It'll all be gone. And so we'll be starting to work on the parking in the summer, we believe this summer probably. So just some cool pictures of stuff going on that have been built in Laverne. Just wanted to show you, this is all sort of the light rail system. On the top left there is the traction power substation that was recently put in at White Avenue. You see the overhead catenary pole on the left, bottom left. You see track being installed on the right. Next slide. These were just a couple examples of crossings and the bridges in Laverne. The bridges in Laverne are they go over washes, so you can, but they still needed bridges for the 2 light rail tracks as well as the freight track. So those had to be built out, and White Avenue, of course, was a huge crossing in our city here, and then D Street, I thought that would be a good one to show you as well. Next slide. And we do have a lot of sound walls being built in the city, so we wanted to make sure that they had a little bit of interest to them, so we brought on an alignment artist to design those, and they represent Citrus as well. On the right are some of the train control elements that are being put in place as well right now. And then we had a fun morning out at the traction powered substation with a few of the council a little over a week ago, so I wanted to include those pictures. So looking ahead, we are, the first line I'll talk about again is we're seeking funding to finish this project from Pomona out to Montclair. We will be done with the at-grade closures, that long-term closures this month. So that's something we're looking forward to. The traction-powered substation, the last one in Pomona, is going to be installed next month. And then the light rail track completion is expected in June. So we'll have finished all of our light rail track installation this summer. And then we'll start testing everything, and that will start at the end of the summer and complete the stations and all that. So really by the end of this year, 2023, we expect a lot of the construction to be done, actually the vast majority of it. And so 2024 will be about finishing the parking, testing the line, making sure everything works the way it's supposed to and safely. And just quickly on the business and community outreach, if any of you live anywhere near the alignment, hopefully you've seen our people or received a notice in the mail, but we work really closely with the city to make sure that we're communicating with the right people. and that we are not surprising anyone with our construction, and we're really proud of the fact. So on the next slide, you'll see just we try to utilize as many ways to reach people as possible to make it easy for people to stay updated on the project. And so you kind of see the different stakeholders on the left and the different activities we do up on top. And then next slide. If anybody would like to stay updated and you're not already on our database, let me know, but you can easily keep informed by even the city website. We have a widget on the city website that has the map of what's going on, and you can click on that and get notices as well. So next slide. And this shows you kind of what that widget looks like and what the interactive map looks like. We send out e-news updates on a monthly basis, and we try to keep everybody really informed. And lastly, as we've affected businesses, I think that's the next slide. We try to do advertising for businesses and signage to make sure that people understand that they're open and to please go and spend money there while we're building nearby. And let's see what's next. Okay, last. Okay, so Claremont and Montclair, I was saying earlier that we got some disappointing news on finishing the project out to Montclair at the end of January. We had applied to get a state grant, and we're one of 3 priority projects for LA County. Unfortunately, we did not receive that funding, but we believe we are now LA County's first priority project for any new funding that's going to be coming. So we are working on that, very focused on that right now. But it includes these 2 stations, one in Claremont and one in Montclair. And if you go to the next slide, there are lots of benefits to finishing the project to Claremont and Montclair. It actually provides most of the ridership of the 6-station segment that we're underway with now, over half, and it provides more than 60% of the vehicle miles traveled reduction. So the greenhouse gas reduction really comes from finishing the project out to those last 2 stations. It will take us about 5 years to build. It's a very complicated 3-mile segment. Because of the Metrolink system, which we will share the corridor with, and it's of course Metrolink's most active, as we know, line in their whole system, and so we need to keep them operational the whole time. But while we do it, we'll be creating jobs, we'll be creating income for the region, and a lot of housing is already planned around those 2 stations, so we really need to get there so we can build out that housing and get people on the train living right next to the train. And lastly, just our schedule. Like I said, we are on schedule for completion to Pomona, so the Laverne station, in early January 2025. That's when we will be finished with our work. We will turn it over to LA Metro. LA Metro then does training of their personnel, and it's called pre-revenue service. They decide when passenger service begins. We assume that'll happen about middle of 2025, if not, or fall. It takes them several months to do it. So, and then we're working right now on what we can do to keep the Pomona to Claremont and Montclair segment going, whether we get some interim money to do like utility relocation and other things that keep the project moving and keep the team together before, as we're trying to find the large money we need to build out, because it is about an $800 million segment to get from Pomona to Montclair. So, and that's how you can stay in touch with us. And we're teeny tiny, so there's only 8 of us in the entire agency. And so when you call us, you're talking to me, you're talking to one of the people that works for me. And so we're out here, and you see us, you'll know us. And we're here to help. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate.
Thank you, Lisa.
Some of my side face to you guys.
We were going to talk about Fulton and Arrow,
Yes.
the signalization.
Yes.
What kind of time frame are we looking at?
So my understanding is that the design for the signal is very close to being finalized. Once it gets finalized, it goes into production. So then we have to actually order the equipment. It takes a minimum of 6 months to get a signal built. and delivered. So we think it'll be about a year before that signal gets, or a little bit more before the signal
So
starts.
maybe
Like next,
March or June of
of
next
next
year.
year. Yeah.
And I was asking if you could speed that up, and
Yeah.
it probably would be no, because you've got a 6-month time frame. But if we can, I think it's a topical conversation, guys. It's pretty much priority. We have a lot of residents, and we've had a lot of accidents there now, and it's a safety concern. So we'll bring it up in the meetings.
Okay, yeah,
But,
no, I appreciate that.
Council, any questions for Lisa?
You know how to get over.
Yeah.
Well, I personally want to thank you because of the fact that you're really good with our residents, really good with information. If there's a closure or a problem, I know we had a number of businesses that were having some issues, specifically the dairy on White Avenue that was cut off by the closure. And you guys did a lot of advertisement, a lot of community outreach, and it really helped them to survive. And they're still surviving, which is really great. And I know the biggest complaint, I think, for most of our residents is the signalization and the communication, and how, I know that you guys are building these, and especially on every grade crossing, is, trying to get those turn lanes, it's confusing.
Yeah.
Because you have to stop, there's no tracks, but there's nothing going on the tracks, but yet, we want to train everybody now to make sure that we stop as they're supposed to.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. You guys have done a very good job on outreach.
Thank you. I was told that by the end of the year, it will be much clearer because everything will be in. So the signage will be in, all the striping will be in, all of the gates will be in, and so it will become much more clear. And at that time, if there are tweaks that need to be made, that's when we start to really look at it and make sure that it's working in a way that everybody understands so we all stay safe.
Well, believe me, they let us know.
Yeah.
Especially when we all use it almost every day and you go, I'm not going down that street again. It's like back up. But I think you guys have done a very good job. We really appreciate it. It's a lot of work. Now, question on the extension from Claremont to Montclair, which I support 100%. We'll have to figure out funding for that, but I think we're going to get that. I really do. Was the Glendora section one of the most difficult ones because of the bridges they built and stuff between Glendora and San Dimas, or do you think because this one with the Metro link that it's more of an issue?
Yeah, it definitely will be a much more difficult construction segment. We will actually have to build them, we're relocating at their station in Claremont, so we're moving the Metrolink station from the west side of College Avenue to the east side of College Avenue. And we're gonna have to build like a detour for the trains, a temporary detour, so that they can keep operating their trains
So
while we
a
build.
shoe fly?
A shoe fly.
Shoe fly?
See, you're so good, yes.
Been on long enough now.
Just don't want any derailment.
That's it.
Yes, but yeah, please. Yeah, I mean, that's, be interesting, but we've got to get money for that. Yeah, especially as soon as we can. Any questions, anybody? You did such a great job. Thank you very much, we appreciate it.
Appreciate being here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, have a good evening. We'll move to announcements. This time we move to announce upcoming community events, and he has an announcement to make. This is not public comment, this is strictly announcements of upcoming events. Ms. Beauchamp.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to let people know that on May 21st, they're going to be having a Dog Fest at Lutheran High School for the Laverne Police Department K-9 Foundation, and they are still looking for vendors to sell items there. But it's a dog participation thing, and it's $25 per dog, which includes lunch, a raffle, a costume contest.
Lunch for the dog or lunch?
Well, you know what? It doesn't say it on the flyer, so I think I'll have to find out the details. But they're also going to have giveaways, and I think it's towards the dogs.
Can we get that flyer so we can put it on our website? And we can
Yes,
share it on social media?
I'll email it to JR so that we can get that up there. But just to let people know, they do need vendors, and they need to do that, prior to the event. So,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you, Ms. Beauchamp. Sherry Best.
So, March is loaded with activities sponsored by the Historical Society. I urge you again to join us on the 13th of March to hear a presentation about the life of Julia Morgan, California's first licensed female architect and designer of over 700 buildings in our state. Very fitting for Women's History Month. The presentation will begin at 4 p.m. at the Hillcrest Meeting House. Be prepared to sign in, check your temperature, and wear a mask. Come early so you can enjoy and be challenged by an art exhibit called Embracing Ghosts. Stacy Jordan, who grew up in Laverne, whose mother still lives in Laverne, is the artist, and the exhibit is at the gallery at Hillcrest. Her exhibit will be available until the 24th of March. Come to 3 free events sponsored by the Laverne Historical Society and others on the Saturday, the 25th of March. From 9 to 1, we have the car show at Bonita High School, so come support the students there. From 2 until 3, across the street is the tour of the Methodist Church. And from 3:15 to 5:15 is a filming or a watching of the screening of the film, The Graduate, now over 50 years old. Who remember seeing that for the first time in 1967? Okay, now, here's everyone's opportunity to support city and chamber-sponsored events. On the 1st of April is the Excellent Adventure at Heritage Park. On the 23rd of April, Active San Gabriel Valley sponsors the Heart of the Foothills event. And on Saturday, the 29th, the Community Yard Sale and Fitness Expo is at Bonita High School, and the Laverne Historical Society will be at all of those. Now, if you haven't had enough in March and April, save the date, because we will be going to the Nethercutt Museum in Sylmar on the 6th of May. So we'll be riding in a bus, courtesy of Supervisor Catherine Barger, going to the Nethercutt Museum, touring the museum, and there will be more information to follow. That is a must-do activity if you've never been to the Nethercutt. I urge you to join the Historical Society. It's $20 for an individual annual membership, $25 for a family membership, and a real bargain, $200 for a life membership. All proceeds go to refurbishing our 1938 International truck. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry, appreciate that. Have you given that to, have we received that from Sherry to put that in our?
Receive what?
All that information to put it in the, our social media page for the city?
Where do I send it?
Just send it to
To
Mr.
you? I'll
Domer.
send it off. Sure.
Shall I? Any other announcements from anyone in the audience?
I have one, if everyone's done.
Councilmember Cash, go ahead.
Okay, great, thank you. Good evening, everybody. I want to thank Pastor Lincoln who gave me this. Calvary Baptist Church and Schools are having the 4th annual car show. This car show will be held at 2990 Damien Avenue. In case some of you don't know where the amazing church is, we're located right on Damien, right between Foothill and Bonita. It'll be Saturday, April 15th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. I have a flyer here. We'll try to put that if possible at our social media account to post that to the community as a whole. It will be here. It's going to have pancake breakfast, registration of vehicles, got some great DJs, cars, trucks, and motorcycles. So if you're a fan of an amazing car show, please go support our Calvary Baptist Church and Schools that's there here in the city of Laverne. So thank you. And if I had a classic car, I'd take one, but I got a kid going to college. So my dreams.
Thank you, Councilmember Cash. Councilmember Johnson, anything to announce?
No.
Councilmember Crosby? We have opening day for Little League. That is this Saturday at 8 o'clock. So a lot of activities. So if you come down Wheeler Avenue, slow down, please. We're going to have a lot of kids, a lot of families, a lot of fun. So let's be careful. We'll celebrate that. Mr. Domer, we have, can I mention about, this is kind of an announcement, the new manager's report that you're going to have out. That's a new different format where we're going to announce community events and things like that. Is that correct?
Yes.
That was quick.
No, so I want to, staff of the city manager's office, Andrea Blockinger and Aaron Bielstein have put together a new city manager monthly newsletter. It looks great, and that is available on If you are on our listserv, which is you provided your email address, that will be emailed out to you. It will also be on our social media platforms, and we are constantly looking at our communication efforts and trying to enhance them. So we're going to look at other ways to take that out, but it's a much more interactive. It will have a lot more community information. It looks better, and so we appreciate that. If you have comments on it, please let me know or let staff know. And if you need to find it, it will be on our website. It is on our website right now. But yes, please take a look at it. Let us know your thoughts.
Thank you very much.
It does look good, I've seen it, and it's lots of information. I think it's important that we get as much information out to the community as we possibly can, so that's going to be great. We will move to closing announcements and move to the consent calendar. Do we have anything pulled, Mr. Domer?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we had one item, number 2, the register of audited demands pulled by a member of the public.
Okay, which one?
Item number 2.
Item number 2. Motion to approve to accept consent item number 2.
Second. I move to approve the consent.
Need a first? That would be a first by Mayor Pro Tem Crosby and a second by all those vote, please. That's the vote.
That was approved 5-0.
Item number 2. Someone pulled item 2, Mr. Bowen? Correct. Mr. Bowen? This one.
Welcome back. Good evening. Hi, JR. Mr. City Manager, City Attorney, Mr. Mayor, Council. Yes, I asked for this to be pulled. I'm not going to go into the detail that I initially planned on. My question was that it's 14 pages of audited demands, meaning checks that have already been written, pardon me, or EFTs that have already been paid. And I brought to the attention, or I saw that we are writing huge, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of checks to the Department of Justice these days, and an excess JPIA pool and other things that have, quite frankly, not been there in the past, and they're just starting to show up. So this period's audit demands is $5.7 million. That just seems like a lot of money and 14 pages. And when you start looking at it, there's just a lot of questions. And I hope that the council is looking at the detail, because it's very unusual. These amounts that are starting to come up in the last 6 months. And I understand a lot of them have to do with a contract we signed back in May by the previous finance director, that I noticed the dates, as far as, nobody will say whether she's fired or let go, but she departed shortly after that, like within a month. So we've got this contract apparently that we're spending a lot of money on, and I just would like to get some detail moving forward, so leave that for detail later.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Anyone else on this item from the audience? Mr. Domer, you want to comment on that?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I will be meeting with Mr. Bowen on Thursday to go over some more details. But yeah, a few things. One, this audited demands, usually we have them on every meeting. We did not have it on the last meeting, so this is the double up of it. One of the reasons for the amount of pages and the amount of cost. On the DOJ check, so the city and our finance department acts as a fiduciary for several different law enforcement, LA Impact, LA Clear, LA HITA. There's 3 different agencies basically that we are the fiduciary agents, so we're doing the payroll, we're subject to their audits. That's one of the reasons why there has been a change in seeing these amounts, because they provide us the grant funds, and then previously we were paying directly from there. Due to a recent audit, now what we're doing is we have to expense the funding from our own and then take the money from that fund and reimburse us, and of course keep track of everything. So that's why you're seeing a little bit more of the expenses shown on the audited demand. So on the excess JPI pool, we're not self-insured, we are with the California Joint Powers Insurance Authority. And you have a couple different things. You have workers' comp funds, you have also liability funds. And so when you go out for insurance on that liability fund, you have certain levels. So you may have a $1 to $2 million and then a $2 to $5 million level, and we pay a certain amount for that. Then there's a selection to go over that amount, which is your excess. And that requires additional funding to buy that excess insurance coverage. And so that's what you're seeing. And what I plan to do during the budget run-up, when we're looking at the budget, bringing all the information to you, is have more community meetings about the basics of what the city does on financing. So what is the CJPIA and how do we go about the insurance? What are some of these other things that we're acting as fiduciary agents? Also on that is coming in here, I know we're lean on staff, and so I want to, are we the right city to be doing those fiduciary responsibilities? So I'm working with our finance director on that, and those are some of the questions that we're going to look at and then bring back to the council. But so those are some of the major issues. It's the 1 full month, it's the action of our fiduciary responsibility, and let's see, and the excess JPI pool it's that time of the year, and it's also you want that excess insurance because unfortunately even trips and falls can result in large liabilities, and thankfully we don't have any issues with our police department or anything like that. But I've been in cities where the minimum coming in is $7 million. You're automatically into an excess pool. Been involved with another city where there's a $13.5 million vehicle accident at an intersection, and what it came down to was there was a recommendation for 4 stop signs during a grade separation project. Only 2 were put in, and even though it was the unlicensed driver's fault, the city was on hook for $13.5 million. That went to that city's excess insurance. So those are some of the things that we're dealing with all the time, and little things can add up to big things. So, but during that budget process, look forward to your direction as to what information you want us to be more transparent on and interact with the community. But I look forward to that time.
There was also on the CalPERS, on the excess CalPERS, that was a question also.
Yes.
And some explanation on that also, clarification for all of us.
Yeah, and I always mess up the term, but it's the pension replacement
There you go.
fund. And so CalPERS several years ago, probably 4 or 5, changed their ways. So when there are retirees, and typically it's your higher paid retirees, so your city manager, upper echelon of police department and fire department, there's an IRS level that is set, and I can't quote, I think it's 415, but I can't quote the number of what it is. CalPERS about 4 or 5 years ago changed that they were no longer going to pick up that amount on that pension, and so they changed the rules, and we have to abide by it, where they force the cities to pay that additional money into it. And so cities back at the time, under the League of Cities, tried to fight it, but we're unsuccessful. CalPERS, as we all know, is a giant that kind of pulls our chain quite a bit, and we have to abide by it. But so that is money going in to pay for some of the higher pensions that have originated from the city. Or, in some cases, sometimes if somebody has moved on to another position and is earning a lot of money, we still have a portion of that payment to make. So those are payments directly to CalPERS for pension-related items.
Thank you, City Manager, appreciate that. And again, it's more important that we all understand that between council and also the city what we're doing financially. So it's important that we move forward with this one. So with that, no other discussion, do I have a motion to accept item 2?
Motion.
Second.
Vote please.
Carry 5-0.
Thank you. We move on to, are the foothills open streets, is that correct? Nope, we move to resolution. Oh, we're done.
No.
Sorry guys, I didn't bring my notes from home, so I've got this one, I'm not used to it, so. We move to public comment. I will say though that I know we're gonna have a few people speaking tonight on CCW. We will listen, but I'm gonna keep that to 3 minutes, and I would appreciate it if you're gonna repeat the same thing, we move on to another person that's got a different view or a different comment, so I would appreciate that, because we don't need to rehash the same thing over. But I will give you time with the mic, I'll give you 3 minutes, if it's something that's gonna go on a little longer, we'll give you some time. So it's important that you guys, the people in the audience have time to speak, so with that, I will open up public comment. And please state your name, your address, and you can fill out a card later.
I guess not.
Keith Reeves, 2811.
Good evening, Mr. Reeves.
Hello. Mayor, members of the council, citizens of Laverne, I'm concerned about the exorbitant fees for concealed carry permits. They're unconstitutional and discriminatory. My first concern is that they are unconstitutional. The high fees, letters of reference, home inspection, and mandatory psychological exam are in direct violation of route mandates. I will let others address that. My second concern is they're discriminatory. They clearly disenfranchise those who need protection the most. Orphans and widows, single moms, abused spouses, minorities, the disabled, senior citizens on fixed income, and other people who are economically disadvantaged. I come to you with 8 proposals to reduce fees. First, bring CCW issuance back in-house. It's my understanding they were outsourced because they lacked administrative help. Second, tap into RSVP and CERT to get administrative help if necessary. As Deputy Director of Laverne CERT, I am happy to donate 4 hours a week to help process these CCWs. Third, cap the administrative fee at $150. This is still expensive for some, but it does rebalance the cost between the city and citizens. Fourth, scrap residence inspections. We do not need detectives going into people's homes to find out if they actually live in Laverne. Fifth, eliminate the required psychological exam. We all know crazy people we don't want to carry guns, but they pass psychological exams, and people who are crazy don't get CCWs. 6, eliminate required letters of reference. These are clearly unconstitutional and add a significant cost to the city and processing fees. 7, don't force people to duplicate live scans. If a person already has a live scan with the city, as do I, for example, and many others who are on CERT or RSVP or other things, don't require them to do an additional live scan. And then 8, allow for broader ways to demonstrate firearms proficiency. You have a list of approved vendors, but in my own case, I'm a certified firearms instructor. We have people who are former military, and our training is significantly beyond what the city is requiring. These 8 recommendations will reduce fees, allowing the marginalized among us to protect themselves and bring the city into compliance with Bruin. I hope these proposals will create a win-win for the city and its citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council, and Administration. I'm John Wilson, 2817 Grant, Laverne. First thing, I want to thank you for mentioning the light that I was here last time about to people. I appreciate that. I'm here probably for an unpopular topic, and that is the running of red lights and stop signs in the city of Laverne. I've noticed, and I'm sure many people have noticed, that people will go through a red light even if it's turned red and they haven't got to the intersection. And I actually was witness to an accident because of that once. Also, a friend of mine, my neighbor, he's a retired LA County sheriff. He said back in the day when he was writing tickets, he would sit at Second and street right over in South Laverne, and just write tickets because people aren't even stopping at that stop sign. And he walks his dog every day, and he says it's dangerous. I said slow and go. He said no. They see nobody's there, and they just go right through. Okay. Second, yeah, Second and East Street. I'm one of those that I see it, and I say what I say in my car, and what have you, and I'm one of those that stop. And I get honked at, and the yellow light comes up, and I'm not gonna go through it, and somebody behind me honks. But the thing that got to me was, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was headed east on Foothill Boulevard, came to a stop at White Avenue. There was a Laverne police officer in the left-hand turn lane opposite. We were gonna turn south on White. Guy runs the red light, headed south on Fruit on the White, and the police officer's first car there. I thought, oh, good, it's gonna get caught. Nope, didn't even acknowledge it. And his light turned green just as soon as this guy ran the red light. I was talking to the Laverne police officer at our last meeting, after the meeting, and I mentioned that I was gonna bring this up. And he said, well, you know, it happens in every city. But just because it happens in every city doesn't mean it has to happen in our city. And I think it's important that Laverne PD start to look at what's going on with the running of the lights, running of stop signs, and start to crack down and start writing some tickets. Because somebody's going to get killed. And the thing that really bothers me the most was, I probably would have said anything, but when I saw that Laverne police officer not do anything and it happened right in front of me, that's when I said, I'm going to council. So I would really like that to be looked into.
Thank you very much, appreciate it. Thank you. Anybody else, public comment? Again, please state your name and your address, if you could, please.
Thank you, everybody, for having me today. I'm visiting Laverne from Whittier. I live at 10431 Nashville Avenue in Whittier. I am an attorney for the California Rifle and Pistol Association, and first I want to say how lovely your city is. Everyone's been super nice, friendliest city council meeting I've ever been to. So with that, I would just want to say how badly I don't want to have to file this lawsuit on behalf of the California Rifle and Pistol Association. So we were contacted about this by some of our members. Mr. Reeves personally made sure I came to the meeting today to speak with everyone. And I'm not going to belabor the points in my letter. Either you or the city manager or your attorney have read it, and I'm sure they're preparing a response. But what I do want to follow up on is the fact that people who go out of their way to get carry permits instead of just carrying illegally are not a criminal threat. We're not all here today, the members that are here today are not applying so then they can proceed with a bank robbery or assault after they get their carry permits. What they're doing is following the law. These are the type of people who you should recognize and reaffirm because they're following the law, because they want to do it above board. Because there are people out there, even good people, who feel they have no choice but to carry. And let's say one of those people could be a single mom, could be somebody who doesn't have $1,000 to spend, feels in danger. They may just end up carrying illegally. They may try and apply, see the price, and be dissuaded. And that's what we want to avoid. And what's easy here is there are clear ways, as Mr. Reeves, I think, briefly alluded to, that you could cut these costs. For example, reference letters, I believe, as I explained in my letter, aren't even allowed by California law because they go beyond what the California standard application allows for. You could cut that. These residence inspections, I'm not clear if that's actually a requirement or if it was just considered, but if that is a requirement, it's unheard of in California. There are no residence inspections in any county that I know of, and I've dealt with a lot of them that deal with these. And psychological exams, as I also said in my letter, are allowed under California law, but most counties don't do them. Most cities don't do them. A few do. But I have my CCW permit from the Los Angeles Sheriff, so we didn't do a psych exam. And as Mr. Reeves noted, people who go out of their way to get permits generally aren't going to commit crimes. Of course, there's always the exception that proves the rule. I'm not denying it happens, but it's statistically rare, very much below the criminal violence rate of the population as a whole. So we're not unreasonable. We understand that when a city like Laverne goes and does something like this for the first time, it might be a little more expensive than the process in LA County. We're not saying you can't actually cover your actual costs as California law allows for. But our issue arises when what caught my attention here is the fees were just so outlandish, so above board, that we feel it's discriminatory, we feel it's intended to price out individuals, and frankly, at that point, it could lead to other claims beyond just the Second Amendment. My hope is I'm open to all your questions. I'm sure your counsel will be reaching out to me, but if anyone wants to talk about this further, CRPA is here to work together on this rather than leave it to the courts. But if we have to go to the courts, we will. We hope we don't. Thank you all for your time tonight.
Thank you very much. Anyone else speaking on this item? Come on up, sir. You can speak on anything you want.
City manager. Years ago, we had a call for a guy at Caltrans. He always took care of us. Joel Johnson's his name. And he had a problem, he would always take care of the problem. Like the lights at the passes and stuff like that on the walkway. So called there a couple of years ago when he retired, and I get the same answer every time you call over there at Caltrans. It's the city's problem. I've done with the city, it's the Caltrans problem. The old city manager, Bob Rossi, I would contact him when the lights were out on the walkway in Chelsea and Essex. And he'd taken care of it. Could the city still do that for us over there in Laverne? Chelsea and Essex, the city walk over the bridge. Can that be taken care of still? Because right now, I have 6 lights, 2 are working. And he always had the city go over and fix it because it's not a big deal. So, didn't get that because we're just...
We'll answer you when we're done.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. How's the standing water out there? Everybody's got standing water. There's no mosquitoes. I guarantee that.
Back to stop sign, Chelsea and Essex, there's a stop sign on Essex. People go through there like there's no sign at all. They don't even slow down.
Okay.
And a couple of years, about 3 years ago, I called the police department, sent a guy over there, and he sits out in front of my house. I said, what are you doing here? He said, waiting for somebody to run by. Well, they're not going to do it with sitting here. I said, back up a little bit. You can catch them all the time there. That's it. I was saying,
Thank you very much. That's how it works. Any other comments?
Oh, it's still too.
Again, please state your name, your address, and your mind, please.
My name is James. I'm at 1337 Russell Street. And regarding the CCWs and the police department saying that they do not have the resources, I believe they do. Because every morning at 6 a.m., parking enforcement goes in the parking lot across the street from my house and sits in that parking lot for 2 hours. Every morning at 6 a.m. And multiple times a week, at night, at about 11 p.m., 4 Laverne PD officers all meet over at 7-Eleven in San Dimas. And they're there for roughly 30 minutes. And those are resources that could be used somewhere in Laverne. So that's all I'm saying.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Ladies first.
Lily?
Ladies first.
Good evening, City Council, Mayor, City Manager. My name is Lily Breno. I am a citizen on 7th Street. Our city made the national news about the CCW because the high fee. I think it's the most expensive in the country. I don't think it's a good news to Laverne, okay, well known because our highest fee of CCW. Last meeting, I brought up why I would consider myself to get a permit. Because for me, do I look like I will do some crime. I just thinking I should learn how to protect myself, protect my kids, and I feel more comfortable when I stay at home. And then actually, my house lives very close to Goal Line, and then actually, good news is Goal Line is going to open in two years, and then I really excited about the line rail. Okay, I like that, and I so appreciate the lady Lisa. She listened to all the Laverne citizens because we have the petition for the not widen White Avenue. So that really means our city of Laverne is a very good community. We are a very good person who unite together when something happens. But we do concern about the crime. If the Goal Line open, homeless crime will come because the Goal Line very close to my house. So I did talk to my husband. We need to build a fence, build a camera. I even talked about I should have something with me when I stay at home with kids. So that's very big concern. 1,081 is too expensive, especially the renew. 650 every 2 years. What? My husband said, what? Can I, okay? I said, even more expensive than my car insurance, my life insurance. What's happened? Too expensive. It's ridiculous. Make the news, really. Two big news international. They talk about in California, a city called Laverne, they have the highest CCW fee. Oh, it's not good to listen to Laverne like that, okay? So once again, okay, my friend, she got shot and died in the Metro Park shooting, okay? I still have a problem with that. I still thinking, if someone had the weapon with them, the second shoot will not happen. Will not have that much people die. In Bible, in God said, the bad people could kill people by stone, by car, by anything. But good people, we should have something to protect us, okay? So in America, have a CCW, okay? What's that called? I don't really know how can still carry weapon, right? That's our right. I become a citizen of the United States because I believe that's our freedom and our constitutional right. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. Anyone else? Please.
Good evening, Skid Sarman, 2173 Bentonville Circle. Anyways, speaking on CCWs as well, I believe the fees are exorbitant, they're beyond reasonable. I'm especially concerned about psychological evaluation. It just seems interpretive. Most people aren't doing this. You know, the guy doing the psychological evaluation, he decided he doesn't like the way my shoes are tied, and so I shouldn't have it. Like I said, it just seems interpretive, unreasonable, and unnecessary. As far as the city goes and the fees, I believe that the city and the council have an obligation to make our Second Amendment accessible to us and able, without putting a roadblock of exorbitant fees. And it's exorbitant, and I think the city needs to do something about it. Whatever it is, something needs to be done, reasonable. Other cities around us are sometimes a fraction of what Laverne is. It doesn't seem reasonable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wish to speak on this item or speak on anything in public comment?
My name is Lawrence Blanchard, 4748 Delmar Circle in Laverne. And I'd like to just touch on the psych evaluation. I second what they said about the exorbitant fees. In terms of the psych evaluation itself, this is something that we call a subjective standard and not an objective standard. And the city attorney will understand this, but what the Supreme Court was ruling on in Bruin was not allowing just these subjective standards where somebody can say, well, I think this or I think that. The standard had to be something that is objective, like running a criminal background check, okay? So in that regard, with this psychological evaluation, this is a very subjective thing. It's someone making a determination on whether they think you should have it or not, and it's up to their opinion. That's what the Supreme Court was trying to eliminate in their ruling. A second thing that I would say, and I think there's maybe some ignorance on this point, And that is that when they run a background check on you through the system to purchase a firearm, or if the police department runs a background check on us in terms of a CCW, the state of California has psychological, what do you want to say, not testing, but they do a check on you for if you've had contact with the mental health system and all of that. So that's how this is usually done, and that would be a, what I would say is a objective standard. In other words, have you had a 72-hour hold? Have you had contact with anybody who would have to file with the state of California to show that you've had some psychological problem or whatever that would disqualify you from owning a gun? That's already all in place. So when the city would run a background check on us, which I'm assuming they're going to do for a CCW, that's the objective standard they're going to do. It's not just to see if you have criminal background. It will check your mental health background as well if you have contact. And that's sufficient. That's why a lot of agencies are saying that's sufficient. They're not going to go to this subjective thing of a psychiatrist looking at you or giving you some examination and deciding whether or not they're going to let you have it. You follow? So because it's included in the check. So you want to check that out and look into that. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Comment? Ms. Beauchamp. Need your glasses?
What I would like to have addressed this evening is, we've talked numerous times about people that are hearing impaired or have difficulty hearing and the sound system and everything like that, which falls under the ADA. But I want to know why no one has addressed the issues of these doors that lead to these chambers. Those doors are so heavy. They are definitely not ADA accessible. They should be automatic open doors like the front doors are. Number two, I would like to see an item placed on the agenda that addresses all communications. And I mean all communications by the council, the city attorney, the city manager, and other staff. That would include text messages, emails, handwritten notes to each other. It's disheartening to sit in the audience and watch the council and other members at the dais not giving the speaker their full and undivided attention. As an example, I'm an umpire for Little League, and I make it clear to my managers that these kids deserve your undivided attention. I don't allow cell phones on my field. If it's that important, then you don't need to be coaching. If you're a heart surgeon and you need to go to emergency, you should not be on my field. I don't allow it. These kids need attention, and these people need attention. It takes courage to come up here and speak in front of you, and not only you, but the public on the internet. And so I would like to see that sometime soon on the agenda, that everything on your little laptops, your cell phones, handwritten notes to each other, all become transparent and part of the official record of City Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Beauchamp. Anyone else on public comment?
Hi, I'm Jim Carlson. I'm your old neighbor. I live at 111 Baseline Road now. I'm here to speak on CCW. I went to graduate school here in Laverne, and I went to law school here in Laverne. And one of the things I learned after law school, my specialty is defaults or sureties. So when they go to build things, sometimes like the rail system we're doing, they don't go well, right? It falls apart, and a guy like me gets sent in to talk to you and explain how the surety is going to spend the money to finish the project and apologize to the whole city. In learning that, I think on stuff like this, the approach by which communication is proffered to you is important, and the topic is, in this rare instance, one of the few times you'll actually run into a constitutional issue. Most cities, you're here to deal with the city's issues. That's why we have you here. You guys do a great job. We're going to agree with you on some things. We're going to disagree with you on other things. But when the Constitution was drafted, so few items were added to the Bill of Rights and a few other amendments that they made the language crystal clear to ensure that there was no misinterpretation about what they intended. On this one, different parts of the country have decided that they disagree with that. And at the state level, they have made their own rules, and some counties have made their own rules, and then some cities. I don't envy you. LA County has had this responsibility for longer than most of us have been alive. And then they said, hey, here you go. We don't like the Bruin ruling. This is going to be really difficult. We know you've never done this in your whole life. You've never even contemplated this. But now you've got to come up with a system. Wine Rob, sir, thank you for your patience and going through this with us. And you've got to come up with something with limited information, with differing parties, with differing views, with different stakes. Some of us in Laverne, and we're very fortunate, this city is wonderful. I've lived here for many, many years, and I don't ever plan on leaving. We are very blessed. Not everybody is, and so for some people, finances are an issue. For some people, process is an issue, right? I don't want this to take a long time. I'd rather spend money and have mine expedited. For others, the issue is psychological evaluation, or I don't want you coming into my home, whatever those things may be. But at the core of what the Constitution looked at, it said we want to make this as clean and clear and logical as possible. We shall not restrict the right to bear arms. It doesn't mean that we can't evaluate and monitor the process. And to what was brought up, whenever someone who owns weapons or wants to purchase weapons goes to do so, whether it's a private transfer or they're doing it through their local gun shop and using an FFL, they have to file paperwork with the Department of Justice. There's an entire background check that has to happen. I'm going to tell you as a gun owner, I have not bought my last gun, and I probably won't buy my last gun until I'm very, very old. And therefore, inherently in that process, I must be subjected to the rules of the Department of Justice and an evaluation that must be routinely occurring from this point on. I'm a licensed general and mechanical contractor. So by virtue of the state of California and the Attorney General and the Department of Consumer Affairs, I am subject to the standard of being evaluated and reviewed. I also happen to sit on the board, so I'm held to an even higher standard of review. I think the question at the heart of the CCW issue is whether or not the applicants have the mens rea to commit a crime. Are they going to be nefarious with this privilege, right? It's a right that we have, it's a privilege in the eyes of the city that you allow it to occur within the confines of the city. I mean, the city could easily say, fine, we'll give you your CCW and we'll consider every square inch of this city a special area. So good luck. You've got your gun, don't let us catch you with it. That's not good for anybody, right? Then that leaves counsel in a spot where he's going back and forth to war. I guess the heart of my comment is this: it's going to be a process of give and take, and to me, the most thoughtful and useful way to approach it is to make sure that you have everything you need, the police department has everything they need to understand who the citizens are that are going to ask for this, and that once the process has been gone through, and the 80 or so of us that want one get it, then one person at a time is going to be asking, maybe two. It's just not something most people want. First of all, unless you're really handy with a firearm, you don't want it on your hip. It's a pain in the butt to carry around. They really aren't uncomfortable. But if you're in a profession that you feel it's necessary, it's better to have that option. If you just want to exercise your constitutional right, it's better you have that option. And as long as parties carrying don't interfere with commerce in the city or create fear or apprehension in members of the city, the whole goal of the CCW is you don't even know it's here. I mean, it's my job to carry myself in such a way and to attire myself in such a way that even a professional law enforcement agent could look at me and go, does he have it here or here? Or maybe it's on his, we don't know for sure, but they know how to carry, right? So that's the goal here. And I just want to ask the city, I deal with things that escalate for a living and on federal issues sometimes. And I just want to ask the city that if you can, go through the process in a way that we stay out of the media. I don't want Laverne famous for nothing. I want nothing to happen in Laverne. I want this to be a safe process. I want the city to feel comfortable with how it goes on. And I want the citizens to know that we did everything we could as a team collectively. No one just issued orders or edicts to anyone else. And I thank you so very much for letting us come and speak with you and taking the time to make eye contact, to be aware, to give us the respect that I give you. And for those of you who don't know, I almost never come to these because I'm out of town on defaults in other cities who don't know how to manage their construction projects. And when I come back home, there's no me here. I get to just go home. I love it. So with that, thank you so much. You have a wonderful evening. Thank you very much.
Anyone else on public comment? Ms. Gabaldon.
Cynthia Gabaldon, 2529 Hamlet Street. I just want to point out something. As a female sharpshooter, longtime gun owner, longtime gun carrier from the age of 4, because in my family, where we grew up, you had to do that. That was just part of the game. According to the Pew Research Center survey in 2005, women accounted for only 13% of American gun owners. By 2020, that number is almost doubled, with females representing nearly 25% of the gun owners in the U.S. In fact, women accounted for 40% of gun purchases in 2020. Would you like to know why? The reason why is that because people like me, that I work for myself, but I travel all over Riverside County. I have other sheriff and police officers telling me I should not be by myself anymore without a gun. I get told that once a month right now, and they're asking, how come I haven't filed yet? And I told them about this, and they laughed at me. That's Riverside County, that's San Bernardino County. They couldn't believe what the city was doing. And then it got into the papers, and I don't know if you guys know about where it got put out into, but a lot of people have read it. And I've already been approached by other sheriff departments going, what the heck are they doing over there? So the bigger picture of the disenfranchisement of what the cost is one thing, is absolutely ridiculous and just out of bounds. But the bigger picture is that in this country, the Second Amendment is the actual Second Amendment. We're settling in this state and we're settling in this county by even having to do a permit at all, because by right, we are already allowed to carry no matter what happens here. Thank you.
Good evening, Pam Berry here. A few thoughts. I'm kind of representing one of the older folks and a woman. And there's several things that go through my head, and in the last week especially, thinking of, looking at the administrative fees, the processing fee, and the permit fee was over $600 just for those fees, in addition to the cost for the background check and the fingerprinting and all of this. And I'm just perplexed as to how there could be enough employee hours to handle an application, to handle the administrative, that would equal over $600 for one applicant. So that was just like, there's no way. I'm retired, I'm disabled, and I'm a woman. And I've done, in the past, some self-defense classes, and we did all the training from work for active shooter situations, and they would tell us, run, hide, or fight, okay? I can't run so good. And I'm telling you, if I squat down somewhere to hide, I'm not going to be getting back up. I'm going to be a sitting duck, okay? Now, that's scary. It's scary now to be, going out somewhere and know that if somebody targets me, I'm kind of stuck. And that's where, in so many of the situations that have happened in our country with active shooters, when it's before any first responders can get there, It's that person who has their own gun and their permit that becomes the hero, and fewer people die. I want to be in a place where there are more of those, not less. I want to know that there are likely going to be some people around there, and maybe one of them will be me. I don't know. But to have the fees so high that it's really restrictive, that people who would be qualified and trained and be able to make a difference in saving lives, don't do that. Don't do that. So that's just what I have to say.
Public comment? We have one hand raised.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me? Wonderful. Stephen Moore, 4760 Kai Estrada. I just wanted to express, I know 2 weeks ago there wasn't this much concern about these fees when they were being passed, and I just wanted to reiterate a finding that the City Council made when they passed Resolution 2310. There was a factual finding that the fees included in the resolution represent the actual cost of the services provided or the facilities funded, and therefore there's a rational relationship between the fees charged and the services and facilities provided. So while I'm sympathetic to those who have concerns about the overall cost, the City Council just 2 weeks ago unanimously determined that those costs did bear a rational relationship and they were the actual fees incurred. The police department made a very professional presentation about why they didn't have the staff or the resources to handle much of this process in-house. With the size of our city and the size of our department, personally, I would prefer that our police department spend their time fighting crime rather than engaging in an administrative process to actually increase the number of guns in our streets. While the city did not make a determination and doesn't have any determination over whether or not we should be issuing CCP permits in the first, or CCW permits in the first place, there have been a number of studies that find right to carry laws increase firearm homicides, they increase violent crime. A 2019 study found there was a 13 to 15% increase in violent crime rates a decade after shall issue or right to carry laws were implemented. A 2022 study found that right to carry laws increased firearm homicide rates by 13% and firearm violent crimes by 29%. There's a number of other studies on this topic. The point being is this: the City of Laverne Police Department presented to you as the experts in public safety in our community what they needed to help keep our city safe. And I don't think we should be skimping on psychological testing, weapons training, the thoroughness of the background investigations. And if they don't feel they have the ability to do that in-house and they have to outsource this, I understand that. If we can reduce the fees, find a cheaper vendor without sacrificing the thoroughness and the quality of the investigation, great. If there's a cheaper weapons training course without compromising on quality, great. But this is what the City of Laverne Police Department has determined they need in order to keep our community safe. And so the City Council 2 weeks ago found unanimously that these fees were rational. So I'd ask that you not kind of cow to special interests that come into our city now and ask to make it easier and cheaper against the advice of the Laverne Police Department, who I know you all support, to increase the number of guns in our community. So, thank you.
If we could please keep decorum while people are speaking, they gave you the same courtesy, please. Anyone else on public comment?
Hi, Bill Hessel, 4797 Coronado Lane. I'm just sort of confused in that this is a Second Amendment right. That was dictated by the Verne decision. And now we're paying a company, CCW.US, a profitable company, for us to get our rights. Why are we making some other company rich in order for us just to obtain our rights that were given to us inalienable by God? That's all I'm saying.
Anyone else, public comment?
Good evening, council and mayor. I just wanted to speak very briefly on the psychological backgrounds. I'm actually sitting here at the University of Laverne with a couple of students because I'm teaching tonight. And we're listening to this because this is obviously something that is a significant issue to people here on campus who find themselves already in fear of, people coming in off the public and doing them harm. And I have two students here, one of which brought up parks. He thinks that Laverne's parks are great and they're safe, and he's concerned that what's going to happen if people who don't have sound psychology have access to lethal weapons and, in fact, have a break and want to see harm done. Having parks, a university, our schools, this is incredibly troubling, particularly as a parent. I have a woman student here who is concerned because the campus is predominantly women. And she does not feel safe knowing that people without psychological background can have access to lethal weapons. And I'm sure the response is, well, she should get a weapon too. Her response is she doesn't think she should have a weapon. She has depression and other issues that she doesn't trust herself with the weapon. So adding more weapons to the equation is only going to make the situation worse. So I urge the council, just as the speaker two speakers ago, to follow the recommendations of those who've been entrusted with our public safety. I do think that cost prohibition is unfair because I'm always going to be against rich people being able to do things that poor people can. But outside of that, I have real trouble with there not being a psychological background that's going to ensure the safety of all citizens.
Thank you, Mr. Ellison. Any other public comment? Ms. Newland.
Kathy Newland from Whitman Terrace. I'm not going to talk about the fees, but with the concealed carry, I disagree that it's going to be more people with mental problems with guns. That's already happening. They're not registered guns. They're getting them on the street. And it's already been mentioned once before that the people that are going to go through the trouble to get a carry weapon, concealed carry weapon permit, they're not going to do that. That they aren't the ones that are going to go crazy with the guns. And when you talk about a break, a mental break, anybody can have that. I mean, you can have people who've had it when they're driving. You can't judge people on that. But it's going to end up that only the bad people, the bad guys, are going to have the guns. And they're going to be doing the shooting. And all the people that are willing to go by the law, that's who you're keeping from it. So I would say we do the concealed carry and whatever it takes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Newland.
Good evening, Council. My name is Agatha Juarez. I belong to Grove Street in Laverne. And of course, fees are the biggest concern. When it came out, when it was posted on our Laverne group, I'd already seen the fees. I was excited because I said, ooh, Laverne has CCW back in their hands, because originally I had tried to apply and it was sent over to the Sheriff's Department. And at that time we were still a may issue state, not shall issue through Berlin. And going through the process in the Sheriff's Department, this was a big deal. I decided not to go through it. So when I saw the CCW through Laverne was coming back, I was very excited. I went on the site, I started looking, and I was shocked, floored by these fees. So I started doing some research. The city of Pomona charges $131, and that includes their fees, DOJ fees and city fees, and the issuance for their permit is $144. The city of Glendora charges $139, and that includes the live scan fees, their application fees. It's $104 for their issuance of the permit, so for a total of $243. LA County Sheriff does not require a psychological test. San Bernardino Sheriff is $108 for the fingerprinting. And they charge 20% of the admin fee, which is $30 to start. Once the backgrounds are completed, it's $122 that you have to come in with. After that, to renew, it's about $125, $130. So the fees are extremely exorbitant here in Laverne. Now, Glendora, Pomona, San Bernardino Sheriffs, what they do is some of them will have an interview with the person who's applying. Actually, it's the police chief that has the interview with you. And if the police chief determines that you should have a psychological eval, then at that time we will refer you out to one, but they generally do not. So I understand the concern about psychological evaluations, but as one of the gentlemen was saying, when you already purchase a weapon, they're going to run you. They're going to see if you have any sort of mental illness at that time. So if the city is so inclined as to have a psychological eval, maybe the evaluation should be an interview with the police chief. And if she determines that you need one, then maybe at that time you should have one. But if the majority of the people who are applying don't need one because we've already gone through backgrounds, then it should be something that is waived or a per person test, not a blanket evaluation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else on public comment?
My name is Mark Arlotti. I live at 2755 Arrow Highway in the city of Laverne. I've lived in this city all my life since I was 5 years old. I am now 52. I love this city very much. I just wanted to comment on what the gentleman online said earlier about how we unanimously agreed for the fees and of this issue of the CCW. And I want to say that had I known, I would have said something. I didn't know. And that's not anybody's fault except my own. I just wasn't aware of it. So I'm thinking that maybe a lot of people weren't aware of it. But now that you did pass, and it's made quite a stir. It's been in the news. It's been in several outlets. You've got the attention of an attorney. And it's troublesome. I was made aware through my friend, Mr. Reese. And he informed me of this, and I was just like, who does that? What city has that fee? So I wanted to come here today and just, speak my voice and say that it's not fair. It's way too much. Nobody else is doing that. And just as a firearm owner, and what you have to go through just to be able to get a firearm in California, that fee is more than most handguns in the state that we're allowed.
Yeah.
It's just absurd, that you can just charge that much for something that's already our right, that we should be able to exercise if we are law-abiding citizens. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead, Shannon. Okay.
Hello, so my name is Shannon. I'm at 1337 Rebel Street. I am a firearms instructor over in Rancho Cucamonga, and as an instructor, a female as well, I see firsthand a lot of people who come in and just they want to train and they want to see classes because all they want to do is defend themselves. Not only are the fees over the roof, we won't even talk about how it is discriminatory for those of us who can't really afford it in the first place. I lived in San Bernardino prior to here where I had my CCW. I had to relinquish that because I moved county lines, sorry, pardon my speech, and starting the process all over again just to get back my rights. I feel that paying for rights I have is absurd. And then again, being able to afford it again, that's hard for a lot of us in the first place. As far as discrimination goes, we won't even talk about the California roster of firearms. That also, leaves out a lot of people being able to defend themselves, especially the elderly. So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there, and thank you for letting me speak.
Anyone else on public comment? Mr. Davis.
Yeah.
Muir Davis, 2649 2nd Street here in Laverne. I want to express my thanks to you all for the challenges that you face in making decisions for our fine community. And I encourage and want to support the effort that you've begun to create a more congenial and decorum-based council meeting. I'm saddened when people disparage our Pledge of Allegiance with protest remarks, and I'm saddened when people make this less than a welcoming environment by showing their appreciation for one side of the issue or another. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Anyone else for public comment?
Good evening, council. My name is Ed Galdon. I live in Alabama Circle. I'm already going through the process with LASD, so I'm just here in support of everybody else. I'm also in process going through the Arizona Department of Public Safety. I just wanted to give some context to the state of California, Verne's process, and then also Arizona's process. While I was sitting down, I didn't even plan on speaking. While I was sitting down, I just looked up some statistics because a gentleman online wanted to give some statistics. It's 0.07% of CCW holders have committed crimes. In Arizona, I applied. I get my license in 4 weeks. It cost me $60. After I go through training, I do a background check with them, and they have last I checked, 432,000 CCW holders, which comes down to about 280 people that have committed a crime with their CCW. And it doesn't state whether they committed a crime with their CCW or they just were CCW holders and committed crimes. So I wanted to just give some context to the process here, Arizona, and maybe that opens a few more eyes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lawrence.
Good evening, council. Again, Rick Bowen. 2 weeks ago, I watched this from the state of Texas. And whether you know it or not, the state of Texas is an open carry state. And I've been there off and on for the last couple of years. Never seen anybody carry. Now, doesn't mean it's not happening, but, and they have issues that happen, obviously, as any big state. They don't have shootings. They don't have routine shootings. You don't hear gunfights on the corners. It's just nuts. And I happen to have a weapon. And when I was there, I said, "What's the rules?" Because I'm from California. They said, "Well, you carry it. You can carry it in your car." I said, "Okay." He says, "You can carry it in your glove compartment." Okay. And I said, "Do you have to have the clip out of the gun?" And it was a sheriff that I was talking to, and he kind of chuckled, and he says, "Sir, that would make the gun useless." So there is a purpose, and I do agree. I'm listening to people about the fees. I think fees are awfully high, and I think from what I saw 2 weeks ago, it just seems like it's one of these things that gets brought before the council one evening, and you vote on it without giving it some thought. And I'd much rather see that stop. It happens a lot here, and I think if, don't know for sure, but if that in fact was brought up and people were allowed to come after they hear about it, like tonight, maybe the decision might have been a little different. I sure as heck hate to see a lawsuit brought against this city on something the Supreme Court of the country has decided is illegal. So that would be a big shame, and I hope it doesn't come to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen. Have some public comment? Clear over there. We're going to go ahead and close public comment and bring it up to council comments. Who would like to start? Councilwoman Knott.
Yes, we should just keep them in. First of all, I just want to say thank you for everybody coming out and voicing their. Was there another?
I apologize. I think Mr. Gilmore had some responses to some of the comments that were out there tonight, and we'll give it to Mr. Gilmore. Is that correct?
Actually, Mr. Mayor, what I'd like is for the city attorney, because the item was not on the agenda, it was public comments. I'd like the city attorney just to admonish, what we can or cannot do up here during the discussion.
So, Ms. Barlow, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Because this item is not on the agenda, you cannot engage in substantive discussion about it this evening. That is a requirement of California law so that we don't not warn people that something's going to be on the agenda and then have a substantive discussion here this evening. And if it's all right, I'd like to just respond to a couple of points that were raised by a couple of the speakers. I think there's a misunderstanding. I'm not sure where the notion that we are doing home inspections came from. But we're not. And then the firearms training, which our police department identified by an estimated cost, it is not performed by the city of Laverne. It is mandated by the state of California. It is not a fee that is collected by or charged by the city of Verne. There are a number of issues that were raised in Mr. Morris's letter, which we will be responding to in due time. And should the council decide to agendize this item for further discussion at a council meeting, then we'll be able to address these issues in greater depth.
Thank you very much. We will move back to council comments. Councilwoman Knott.
Thank you. I was just going to start by saying thank you, everyone, for obviously being engaged and participating today. But above all that, I want to thank folks for the civility and the decorum. I know that this is not an easy issue to discuss, and people have definite feelings one way or the other about it. So I do appreciate that everybody spoke articulately and in a way that was polite and reminding each other that we are all still neighbors and that we live in the same community. So thank you for that. Couple of items just to let people know what's been going on lately. Catherine Barger, who is one of our supervisors, held an event for the 5th District cities the other night. And it was an opportunity for elected and appointed officials and staff to be able to network and engage and meet each other, which, as you know, more and more, we need to be collaborative and cooperative with our neighboring communities in order to get things done, especially when we are faced with budgetary constraints, capacity constraints, and the like. So I was able to attend the event. It was a really nice turnout, and it was really appreciated. I know that some of my council members were mentioned by name in terms of their participation in other collaborative units. So I just want to let people know that this council is working hard to make sure that those collaborations and those cooperative efforts are taking place. Earlier, before this meeting started, Councilmember Johnson and I attended the Fairplex meeting. where we were updated on some of the things that will be coming up from the Fairplex, and I know that's another item that residents have been concerned with in respect to what's happening with the specific plan, what are the next steps that are going to be going on, and the Fairplex has assured us that they will keep us apprised as more items develop along that road, and we'll be sure to report out and let you know when those events might be happening or when data and feedback are being requested from our residents. As you may remember, the fair has moved from September to May. So just in preparation for that, it will begin May 5th and last through Memorial Day weekend. There will be some changes to how ticketing happens. You can still buy tickets at the door, but it's highly recommended that you do it online. They're cheaper. You can avoid hopefully some of the lines and some of the issues that may happen. And parking. And yeah, please buy your parking ahead of time. For any of you that live near where Councilmember Johnson and I live, you know, every year we're affected by fair traffic and just fair congestion. So that's an opportunity for us to try to alleviate some of that by ordering and doing things like that online earlier. And last but not least, I know someone had mentioned earlier our police and our canine, and just so folks know, if you go to Katie's Pet Depot, if you have a pet and you know a furry friend of yours that you shop at Katie's for, there is an opportunity to donate to Tupelo and to the Canine Foundation, so that if you want to support that one-stop shop, you can do all that kind of good stuff. So again, thank you all for being here tonight. Appreciate your time and your engagement, and as always, be kind to each other.
Thank you, Councilmember Lau. Mayor Pro Tem Crosby.
Thank you. I'll be short and sweet. I'm sorry I'm not feeling 100% tonight, but I thought this meeting today was very important to hear the important things coming from our residents. I just want to state what Councilmember Lau said. Tonight's discussion was a very, very good discussion, as the attorney from us said that we are the friendliest town that he's been in. It really having appropriate conversations about this topic, and really appreciate everybody's decorum during this topic as well. I would like to come back and see this on an agenda item so that we can have a more thorough conversation in public as well.
Okay. Councilmember Cash.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate everybody for coming out today. Listening to you, it's very important to me. I appreciate the fact that you come in here voicing your opinion. And for that, take a long, hard look and understand what really is to address. Having said that, I'd like to I was at a couple of great events in the last few weeks. Only one before my active duty tour that I had to do. I attended to the Los Angeles Kailasa Hindu Temple. I invited them out there to folks that are in Montclair, so I get a good opportunity to go see and visit the Hindu temple, and I was just really impressed. And really happy to be there, very friendly and welcoming in some of the Hindu communities that are here in Laverne. I want to thank the Laverne Fire Chief for sending out the information today. I've been working with him for the past couple months on the idea that how we can protect our community as a result of several fires that we've had, and whether it's in the garage or inside the house, how to protect our community best. And I sent out, put it on our social media page. It's with the Laverne Fire Department, but for those that don't have internet access, the American Red Cross is titled "Smoke Alarms Save Lives." Working smoke alarms can cut the risk of death from home fires in half. That's why they were relying on volunteers, fire department, and partners to sound the alarm where it's safe to do so. Together, we're installing free. Let's say that one more time. Free smoke alarms in your community. Request a smoke alarm today. So if you have the chance, the phone number to call, stay tuned. It is 310-445-9914. Thank you again, Fire Chief. I appreciate you for sharing that with me today. Try to get out to the community. Please get it and utilize this and get you a fire alarm there. Yesterday I had the honor and great opportunity to attend the 34th Annual Attorney General Inauguration where I represent our great city of Laverne. Really it's good collaboration with other folks that are elected in our community to let them know Laverne's here and we represent it. And last but never the least, our very own Damien High School hockey team won the state championships, and I will be contacting them again to formally recognize them and their hard work that these boys have done representing the city of Laverne and Damien High School. So God bless them, and they continue to do good and fight strong. So that is all I have today, and I appreciate you, and stay strong, Army strong.
Thank you, Councilmember Cash. Councilmember Johnson?
Sure. Again, the fair, we were just at that meeting here at City Hall. The start date is May 5th through Memorial Day. Laverne Day will be May the 12th. Just to put on your calendars. This past week, my wife and I were able to go to the Pomona Pride Center's State of the LGBTQIA+ community.
Good job.
Within the Pomona Valley. And that, the Pride Center serves all of Pomona Valley, through Claremont, through the Claremont, Verne, Pomona, with Tri-City. Tri-City Mental Health supports the Pride Center. I'm not that comfortable public speaking, and I didn't expect to be called up this week at this event.
Sorry, Mr. Johnson, I forgot to tell you that. That shy man there had to have a little talk with you.
I did, yeah. And Lauren said it went well.
And you did extremely well.
That's all I got. Go ahead, take it.
Sorry about that, Mr. Johnson. I don't quite give all the information sometimes. I too want to thank everybody. I know this is a very sensitive subject. It has to do with constitutional rights, and we take everything we do seriously here. As you can see, all of us are on different committees, and we're very involved to make sure that our city gets attention, along with our other community members in our other cities. It's very important that we have this necklace of connection with all of our communities. So it's extremely important that we all communicate and talk. And as far as this issue here, we'll be addressing that in the future, I'm sure. And but I do appreciate everybody's comments. I do appreciate the decorum. It's very important because we respect, and then you respect in common, and the fact that we're all in this community together. All of us love this community. I mean, what we do up here is a tremendous amount of work. Our staff has a tremendous amount of work. And we always try to look at everything to do to keep, first of all, our residents and our seniors safe, to make sure that the decisions we make are financially stable. And basically all of our partners in our surrounding communities, being Fairflex and all the things that we do, to make sure that what they're going to do is not going to affect our community either. And the same thing with Gold Line, with certain things that happen with the Gold Line, with Applebaugh Page, as a community. When things happen in this community, we rally together to make sure that we're all safe. And the decisions that we make affect all of us to protect us, to make us a place of destination. Our home prices are high because we're a very desirable area to live. So I do appreciate that. We'll have more conversation on this issue. One thing that I want to bring up too is that we did pass a resolution tonight, the Heart of the Foothills Open Streets event. That's going to be April 23rd, and they're going to shut down sections of Bonita to Arrow, and you'll be able to ride your bikes, you'll be able to walk. They'll have all sorts of booths and fun stuff for people to do. So as we get closer, we'll televise this, but this is through the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments and with some of the measure funds that we're doing. So it's going to be a really, really fun event. We did it back, Mr. Davis was on, we did it back in 2018, and it was a kick. We had a ball. I mean, how many times can you take a bicycle or walk or wagons and go from Bonita all the way to Arrow on Fulton and go from Arrow all the way to Claremont with no traffic? It's really, really cool. So with that, again, I appreciate that. I appreciate staff's help on this tonight. And this will be going into closed session. We have 2 items of discussion in closed session tonight. The City Council will meet in closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, conference with labor negotiators. Those negotiators being the city manager, assistant city manager, and city attorney, regarding the following employee organizations: Laverne City Employees Association, Laverne Police Officers Association, Laverne Police Middle Management Association, all unrepresented employees. Additionally, the City Council will meet with its legal counsel to discuss significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9-E3, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, one potential case.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
if you don't mind, I am required to announce, because it's threat of litigation,
Oh.
what it's about.
Yes, please.
And so that does relate to Mr. Morris's letter of February the 27th on behalf of the California Rifle and Pistol Association, as well as his follow-up communications.
Will we be reporting out of closed session?
I do not anticipate a report out this evening.
With that, we are recessed to closed session. Our next regular scheduled meeting in Laverne City Council is scheduled for Monday, March 20th, 6:30 p.m. We will adjourn at 8:26 p.m. Thank you all for being here.